Okay, welcome Warrior staff to our digital corporation meeting for the 2020-2021 school year. Reason why I decided to do this digitally as one obvious reason is the COVID-19 and coronavirus. I didn't think it was just wise of us to get all together in the auditorium with over 100 of our employees and staff together. I just thought it would be better to err on the side of caution for that. Um, The other thing is that many of you have not been with inside your departments, your buildings, and your classrooms since March 13th on a consistent basis. I know you've been in and out, and some of you have started to work within the last few weeks, but you just needed that time. You need that time to work. So I thought if we could just send this out so you could watch it at whatever point you wanted to, and then just kind of work through it that way, it'd be a lot easier. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to share my screen here and get started on our presentation. So welcome, first of all, welcome back. And it will be a unique year, but it will be a good year. It'll be a great year. We'll get through it, whatever form it is. And I'm going to be very transparent and honest with you, as I always am today, and just tell you whatever this year looks like, whatever happens, and we know there's going to be changes and things happen. We are very excited to be back with you, whether that be day to day, every day in person, or whether we have to shift to virtual at some point, shift back, whatever that looks like. We're going to ride through this together as warriors, as warrior staff, and we are going to be here for each other. We want to start with welcoming our new staff, and we do have a few of our current staff that are shifting positions, and we want to talk about them too. So first of all, for our new staff, we have a new elementary principal this year. He started in July, and that's Mr. Todd Reagan. Most of the elementary, if not all, and a lot of our other staff have worked with Mr. Reagan already, have met him, have been working well over a month with him. But for some of our staff members, you will quickly get to know him as you see him working down as our elementary principal. So welcome, Mr. Reagan. Mr. Knuckles is not new to our staff, been with us for several years now in the math position at the middle school, but now he's shifting into the Dean of Students position down or over at the elementary. And I know we're very excited. I know he's very excited to be at the elementary and working with our young warriors down there and our elementary staff. So welcome, Mr. Knuckles, as he shifts up to the elementary from the middle school, high school, and shifts into that administrative role of Dean of Students. Mr. Slopsema, who was the former assistant principal, and now Mr. Knuckles' Dean of Students position replaces that at the elementary. Mr. Slopsema is now moving into a district role as Director of Student Learning. He will also be in charge of special education and honestly, any duties thus assigned by the superintendent. So he will be a very busy man. He'll also be working in all of our assessment and data and our performance of students. So he'll work closely with the principals on curriculum and instruction and that type of thing. So those are some of our admin changes that we have. Let's talk about our new teachers at the elementary. In first grade, we have Hannah Wentz, who's going to be here this year for Mrs. Willis on a maternity leave. So welcome, Hannah, to the team. And again, she's in first grade. And then in second grade, we have Victoria Zimmerman. She is going to be working with our second grade team. We're very excited to have her. I believe, if I'm correct, she did her student teaching in our building, so she's familiar face and familiar with our family. So welcome, Victoria. Then we have in fourth grade, Caleb Mills coming to us. Very excited to have Caleb come to the family, and excited to have all three of our new staff members and teachers at the elementary. Make sure you guys get a chance to welcome them, make them feel at home. At the middle school, high school, we have a couple of new staff members as well in the teaching ranks. We have Kirsten Brewer, who will be taking over our middle school, high school science position, and she'll actually be filling the position that Becky Fulton is leaving, but not leaving us. She's moving into our family and consumer science position. So there's two people right there, one that's been with us, but Kirsten is new, so we welcome her, and we want to congratulate Becky in moving into that family and consumer science position. We're excited for both of them. Another high school science teacher is Austin Williams. Austin's been around the building for a while working along with Kirsten. They were hired in the summer, and Austin will be doing high school science and some Project Lead the Way for us. So excited to have Austin with us. And then Steve Meyer is our new middle school math, replacing Mr. Knuckles' vacancy as he moves to the Dean of Students. And Mr. Meyer, we're very excited to have him. And we want to welcome all three of those individuals into our middle school, high school. At the elementary, we had a secretary's position that was open, and then of course we shut down, so we didn't fill that, and we just filled that over the summer. And that is a familiar face. That is going to be Ashley Purdue, spouse of Adam Purdue, our high school principal, middle school, high school principal. So we want to welcome Ashley as she works down at the elementary with Mrs. Hill there in the office. We did have a change of director of maintenance early in the summer, and Jeremy Essex moved up. He is now our director of maintenance, and his position was opened up, and we hired Justin Journey as that position in maintenance. So we want to welcome both of those, even though they've been here. They are in different roles now. And then we also have 3 bus drivers. We have Richard Beeman, Barbara Sharp, and Rob Schaff that we want to welcome to the transportation team and to the family. So there's our new staff, some new, some changing roles, and we just want to welcome them back. And we want to welcome all of you back. And as we do, we want to get into some of our presentation. So as you see the corporation staff listed, I'll go through this very quickly. Obviously, you see myself, Kyle Mealy is the superintendent. Then we've talked about Mr. Slofsma moving the director of student learning and special education. Greg Davis is here, still here as our director of technology. Scott Stafford still our school resource officer and safety officer for the corporation. And then a lot of experience at central office between Sharon Fowler as our corporation treasurer and business manager, and Teresa Weitzel as our corporation secretary, our ECA treasurer, and assistant treasurer. Those two, they're the ones really you should call first before you call me, because they'll probably have the answer. Then we have Robbie Parker as our director of transportation, another guy with a lot of experience in our corporation, running all our bus routes, maintaining our buses and all our transportation. And we talked about Mr. Essex taking over director of maintenance, and then Penny Hirons as director of food service, who takes care of all of our student nutrition and programming. She's been with us, again, a lot of experience in those departments. So we're happy to have all of our corporation staff back. We'll move into elementary administrative office staff. We've talked about Mr. Reagan. We talked about Mr. Knuckles. Back with us is student service coordinators, Kathy Hunt. Our speech pathologist that we hired in the middle of last year, Kelly Christie, very fortunate to have her. She'll be working in both buildings, so you'll see her listed on both buildings. And then there's our secretaries, Alina Hill, Ashley Purdue. And last year we had Casey Gale come to us as our elementary nurse, and we're very fortunate to have her. At the middle school, high school, admin and office staff, Mr. Purdue is your principal, Mr. Hanson is your assistant principal, and Mr. Denny is your athletic director. They make up your admin team there together. And then Mrs. Oliger and Mrs. Goldstein are your counselors. And rather than list them as a high school, middle school, they really work so well together as a team that we kind of look at them more of Mrs. Oliger being the director of guidance and Mrs. Goldstein being your counselor, guidance counselor. She will work in a lot of different ways, but they work so well together and they work at all levels. So that's kind of how we've listed them this year. Monica Ben came to us last year as our registrar. She's a former student, and she's back in that position. And then your principal secretary is Kristen May again, and assistant principal secretary is Brittany Malk. Now, something I want to mention about Brittany moving. She's moving up to the front at the middle high school to the main office. That has a lot to do with not only the pandemic, but school safety and those types of things. But we can't have people walking through our building. So what we've done is the old middle school office is now where Mr. Slopsma, director of student learning, and where Mr. Davis, director of technology for the corporation, will be housed. So the old middle school office where Mr. Hanson and Mrs. Monk were last year is now Mr. Slopsma and Mr. Davis. So it's technology and student learning office down there, really for the corporation. So you'll see some changes in the building and some updates that we made. We're very excited about how the building looks and some of the things that we've done. In that shift, you'll also see that the guidance office has actually been added in with true offices in that room. So there are 2 more offices for our counselors, and then Mr. Hanson now will move into the room next to Mr. Purdue, which used to be our assistant principal's office. It's also been the athletic director's office before we moved across the hall. But it's the room, it's the office directly next to Mr. Purdue. So everyone's up front. As far as your office, middle high school office and admin staff. And then you have across the hall again, you have Deb Baldwin in the athletic office and Cheryl Slinker in the corporation nurse's office. She's housed there at the middle high school. And then again, we have Kelly Christie as our speech pathologist who works between both buildings. So just wanted to highlight our admin and office staff in all our buildings. So as we shift in, we have to talk about COVID-19. Obviously, it's the one thing that's causing everybody a lot of anxiety. A lot of concern. So as we talk about that, we just want to start with the number one thing here is staff safety. We want you to be safe. We want you to take care of yourself. And to do so, it's really the things that you've heard, the things that work. Washing your hands. Make sure you wash your hands. Make sure you do so more than you ever have. Try not to touch your face. Wear your mask. We ask that you all wear masks, and we'll talk about face shields and masks in a minute. But whatever you choose to use, just really take care of yourself. If you are feeling ill, do not feel like you have to come to work. This is a change I think we'll see in all aspects of our world. But no longer will we all be coming to work when we don't feel well. So if you're not feeling well, remember that, unless it's a quarantine situation where you're actually being quarantined or you test positive, you have to take those sick days, but not if you're COVID related positive or you're pending a test, those types of things, or you're in a quarantine. And we'll kind of talk about that in the next bullet. But if you just staff safety wise, just take care of yourself. We really worry about you, and we're really concerned that you make sure you take care of yourself. So use all the precautions necessary. Hand sanitizer is second best, but washing your hands with soap and water is number one. And just making sure you're wearing your face coverings, your masks, your shield, whatever that be. Second bullet point there is quarantine protocols. A lot of questions about this, which we've tried to touch at the building level, and you can ask your building principals. They understand this too. But if you are forced to quarantine due to an exposure to COVID-19 or waiting a test or anything like that, or if you are positive, the FMLA COVID-19 Extended Act gives you right now one situation where you do not have to use those days from any of your sick leave days. Now, I'll just tell you straightforward that we will work with you case it by case. If someone would to have to do this multiple times, which we hope they do not, we hope none of you have to quarantine, but we do know we will have cases. We're going to be transparent about this. They're already having cases in other schools as they've gone back. If you have to quarantine, just know that first time, that initial time, you are given those 14 days, which typically come out to be about 10 school days because of the weekends and stuff. But however it falls, you get those days, and you will not have to take those from your sick days, if that makes sense. If you have any questions on the quarantine protocol, and if it happens, remember, we'll work with you and the health department in a case-by-case situation. So don't get too overly concerned with that until we really have to cross that bridge. For health department guidance on contact tracing, your principals have given you a lot of protocols. I just want to hit on a couple things. Number one, it's very, very important that you assign seats in all your classrooms so that you can keep track of what students were around what students in case there would be a positive case. If there's a positive case, we will ask for your rosters and your seating charts to make sure we can find out who it is that was within that social distance. And remember this is the second point. If you are within a person who tests positive for their 6 feet radius for 15 minutes or more, you will be contact traced at that point. So that's the magic little measurement in time, 6 feet for 15 minutes or more. So that's where the health department will contact trace and find out who those individuals are that were within that time period. And that's why it's really important to have assigned seating on buses, important to have it in the classrooms, important to have it at lunch. And that's why it's not going to be fun for the students. And I hate that we have to do this, but it's all about being able to trace any of the contact. And unfortunately, it says contract on there. So I needed to work on my spelling a little bit. But as we said a little bit later, there will be mistakes this year. Next bullet point is face shields, masks, and social distancing. When it comes to face shields, now we've flipped, and I understand the frustration of the staff, but initially we were told by the health department that we could not replace a mask with a face shield. In talks with the health department this week, they flipped on that, and they told us that actually a face shield can be used in place of a mask. So there you go. You're hearing it from me. You can use a face shield. I would recommend a mask. I understand if you're lecturing and you're 6 feet away, the governor's orders allow you to take that off so they can see your mouth and you're not close to them. When you come close to a student, then you want to put the mask on. But I also understand that some of you want to wear the face shield so they can see your face all day long because you want that relationship, that personal connection. Whatever you feel safe with. Remember, it's staff safety was the first bullet point. It's up to you to take care of yourself. So social distancing, also just kind of do that all day long as best you can. Even when you go into the lounge and you eat and you're preparing food and you're doing things, just really be aware of your social distancing. Cleaning, I wanted to highlight, and you've heard this in the reopening plans that we have. but just on the cleaning. We're going to do daily cleaning like we always do, but we're going to really hit those high touch, high traffic areas. So door handles, doors, desks, any items that are going to be high touch, high traffic. Now we will need your help. If you are using certain areas one day, but you may not the next day, or maybe you're in a lab situation for a week, but most of the time you're in the desk, just communicate with the custodians so they know where to do some extra cleaning for you. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to try to get Lysol wipes and Clorox wipes and Lysol spray are incredibly hard to get right now. I'll just be honest with you. So we found some other situations through our janitor supply and our custodial supply that are disinfectants that work just as good. So you may be getting a plastic bottle of spray that we can refill over time, and Mr. Essex is working on that, so everybody has one in a classroom with paper towels, so you can do any extra cleaning that you feel you want to do, and we appreciate that. But it's also about keeping you safe throughout the day and keeping your students safe. It's listed there about CARES Act grant and the FEMA grant. We did ask for our CARES Act money, which was about $140,000, and we asked for FEMA money, which is $120,000. CARES Act we should be getting. FEMA we're waiting to hear from. Now that does seem like a good chunk of money, but it goes very, very fast for us. So just understand that it may not be, it may go very fast and we may not have a lot of that. So just wanted to let you know, we did try to get as much money as we could for our COVID and our issues and to help us battle this. As we move through and we get out of COVID a little bit, let's move into just the new year. And our vision, everyone needs to know our vision, especially our new staff members. And we've kind of changed the wording a little bit, but it's the same thing. Last year, our vision was very simple. We were creating a school that all the other schools wanted to be like. Now we've just kind of cleaned it up a little bit and said, our vision is to create a school that all the other schools want to imitate. It's kind of the same thing, but what we're saying is we want other schools to look at the way Westell does things and the way they treat kids, the way they educate, the way they care about their community, their staff, their culture, everything. And we want people to say, I want to be a part of that, or I want to replicate or imitate that at our buildings, because that's really the greatest compliment you can get. I feel like that's already starting to happen throughout county and area. People are wanting to look at us as more of a model and more of a leader of how we do things. And with this vision, I want you to think about this new school year that is upon us, where you may think we have adversity or an obstacle, but we really have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to do some things that are going to stretch us out of our comfort zone, but also make us grow. We have the opportunity that we may get placed on virtual and we may come back in person. Then we may get placed on virtual again. Remember, we don't have control over that, but what we have control over is how we create our school and how we handle that. So we're going to have this event that occurs throughout the year in front of us, and how we react to that event and how we push on is really important. So in our vision, we have to continue to create a school that all the other schools want to imitate, even during a pandemic. We want to be the school that's like, how are they handling this? How are they just pushing through? And we'll talk a little bit about how we do that in the next few slides. Now, our promise, this is new, but I really put this on here because this came from all of you in the way, in the last 11 years that I have been at this district, the way I have seen Westell. Our promise is that every student at Westell Community Schools is known by name, strength, and need, and graduates for the future they choose. So what does that really mean? Name, it's not their name, it's that we know them, and we know every kid. And every kid has their teacher or their person or their staff member. And that's really what that point or that label of name means. Not just that you know their name, but that they each have someone. And that's really important. I think that's a really key Westell Community Schools aspect. We know all their strengths, and we also know their needs. And then our goal basically at the end is that they graduate for the future that they choose. So that's our promise. I really like that. And it came from all of you. It came from every staff member, every teacher, every employee, because that's what they do. They make Westell kids feel important, and that's the most important thing we could do. So hold on to that. We go into the next slide, which is our approach. Again, we talked about a lot of these things last year, and we made big gains last year in positivity, in embracing change, and just how we were going to do things. And our approach really, really got better last year. And I think we just keep going. We don't stop. So this year, in a very interesting year, our attitude and how we are as role models is going to be key. We are the example for our kids. They may not be getting it at home. They may be living with a multi-generational home that is very, very anxious and very, very scared of the virus. And when they come to school, they need some stability. Or if they get on the computer and they're virtual, they need that stability. Whatever it is, we can't let them see us be down. We can't let them see us complain or be negative. We just have to be the role model for them. They need us. They need us as much as possible. The next bullet point, flexibility and patience. I ask that everyone in our buildings, in our staff, and everywhere, just be flexible and be patient. We are going to have changes. I can guarantee you we are going to have changes. Changes are going to occur weekly, daily. We aren't going to know from one week to the next what's going to happen. But as teachers, we are used to changes. We are used to things happening. So what we need to go back is back to that vision and say, how do we want to embrace that change? How do we want to create that school? And so just know right now, I'm telling you, changes are going to happen daily and weekly. You have to be ready for those changes. So when it comes to flexibility and patience, just be flexible with your administrators, be flexible with your colleagues, be flexible with your department heads, be flexible and be patient. It's going to not be instantaneous. And we live in that world where everything wants to be instant, but just be patient. And the last thing I'll say is, as you saw in my slides, instead of saying contact, I said contract. And mistakes are going to happen. We're all going to make them. We make them every day. We made them before this pandemic. But mistakes for some reason, and anything that decision-making is being overly scrutinized and overly highlighted right now. Let's be together on this. Let's show each other grace. Let's understand that it's really important how we handle everything and how we do that daily. And the last thing I want to say with grace and just overall in our new year is, this is not the year to be negative. This is not the year to complain. And this is not the year to be high maintenance. I personally have had my fair share of negativity or being negative. I have had my fair share of complaining. And I have also had my times of being high maintenance. But I know that this is not the year. You do not need that from me. And as your team mate and your team member, I'm going to make a conscious effort not to do those things for anybody. And so I ask of you, this can't be the time where we are negative, complaining, and high maintenance. We have to be together as a team, and we just, to get through all of this and how these different ways, these changes and these fluid moments, we just have to do that. Understand that the administration since March 13th has really not had any days off. It has been constant changes, constant meeting with health departments, constant meetings with the superintendent, constant changes from the superintendent. Hey, we're going to do this. Well, now we want to do this. It's been a lot. So show each other grace. Don't be negative. Don't complain. And just try not to be high maintenance this year. Expectations. We hold the following expectations. And again, didn't change the 1920 on this one. I should have. It's 2021. Mistakes are going to happen. But here's our 3 for the 2021 school year. Number 1, each team member will work to know their students by name, strength, and need, no matter what educational delivery method we must use. Number 2, each team member will have a positive approach to each day. And number 3, each team member will be flexible, patient, understanding during a very fluid school year. I don't have to re-hit on all of these. I think we've already talked about them. So those are our expectations. The last thing I'm going to tell you is have a great year. And how does that start? Well, every day we have a choice. We can choose to be grateful and see the good in all that we have, or we can let anger, fear, doubt, and insecurities rob us of our joy and a life we're meant to live. The choice is yours today, and we say that a lot, make it a great day or not. The choice is yours used to be something we said daily, and then we said be a warrior today. We say those things. Now we have to really make sure that we walk the walk. And if we're going to say these things, we really got to be the role models for students, and however that looks like right here. If we're doing a corporation meeting digitally, we can do it. We can make it happen. We can be flexible. We can be patient. But really, it's how we wake up each day and what we choose to be. And we can't control the pandemic. We have no control over that. We have no control over the cases. We have no control over really any of it except taking care of ourselves, which means making sure we wash our hands, making sure we wear the mask, making sure that we do the social distancing, making sure we do everything we have to do. But ultimately, we are really not in control of all of that. But what we are in control of each day is our approach and our attitude. So I ask of you to get on that bus just like I did last year. Get on the bus. We made great gains last year, and a lot of people, if not all, chose I'm staying here, I'm getting on the bus, and I'm going in this direction because we are creating a school that other schools are going to want to be like. And we do know each of our kids by name. We know their strength and we know their need. Have a great school year. Take care of each other. You'll get a lot of information through email, through digitally. Some of this will come through videos throughout the year from the district office. Don't hesitate to call. More importantly, email. It's one of the best ways to get a hold of me. I know that sometimes it may take me a couple days to get back to you, or even longer. If you don't hear from me, just keep emailing me. And if you don't, and you catch me in the hallway, just stop and ask me a question. I like to talk to you face to face. And the other thing is, if you have my cell phone number, and I'll be glad to share that to all the entire staff, don't hesitate to text or call me. But my office phone is probably one where I'll tell you it's hardest to get a hold of me, and Sharon and Teresa would tell you that because I'm not always in my office. So this is going to be a good year. In fact, it's going to be a great year. And whatever form it takes, we're going to get through it like we always do as warriors. So thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you back in the buildings. Thank you.